Would you like a late night tarot reading? This is going to be a general reading with no claiming required whatsoever. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and don't force anything to fit. Now, the way that my camera is positioned, you are not able to see my desk. But please trust that I am shuffling this deck. Okay, can you hear it? I guess I could show you if I were to stack the books that are surrounding me. But I feel like that would be quite cumbersome. So we're just going to have to go off of a little trust here. Okay. I'm going to cut the deck. I don't have the biggest hands in the world, so this does. I don't want to drop everything in place. 78. Pick up. Instead of 52, pick up. Get it? Okay. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Don't force anything to fit. We already have a card coming out. It's the Eight of Wands. But it came out sideways. It came out sideways. And it's the type of sideways where it could be turning reverse. So there may be a bit of stagnation here. There may be a bit of impatience afoot, feeling like you really want to get started on something. You really want to act. You want to go fast. You want to go quick. You want things to fall in line. The air conditioning just turned off. Wanting to get everything in line so super speedy quick, and everything needs to fall into place. Almost like it's a movie montage. But this isn't a movie, it's real life. So things take a little longer. Any other cards wanting to come out? Hold on. I like this one and this one. Ooh. Judgment and the Queen of Cups. Okay. Okay. A lesson in intuition, a lesson in trusting yourself, trusting your feelings, trusting what your spirit calls, feels pulled to, feels called to. You may feel like things aren't exactly going lickety split as much as you want it to, right? Because there's a lesson here to learn. And you can't exactly learn the lesson of trusting yourself, of listening to your intuition, your gut feeling. There's no really learning that lesson until you do it. And it feels like until you really learn that lesson, things are going to feel a bit slow. They're going to feel a bit delayed. And, you know, it feels like this is something that's, it's sort of like, I'm imagining the universe laughing, not at you, not at us, but just sort of laughing in a way where it's like, I have all day, I have all month, all year, all decade, all century, all millennium. I'm here. You, on the other hand? Right. And the thing is, too, is that because we are a part of the universe, we are also still here for that long. But we're just taking different forms, right? But while we're in this form, we don't really last as long. And so because things feel so short and like we're constantly running out of time, there may be this sort of frustration when we're not listening to ourselves, because we have that inner knowing, we have that inner guidance. And we get frustrated when we're not listening to it because we're not listening to it. It's like we get so, it's just so, I don't even know the right word to use, but it's like when we're children, we just do what we want to do because it's what we want to do. We play the way that we play because that's the way we want to play. You know, we have visions of how we want to dress because that's just the way that we want to dress. There is no secret code. There is no deeper meaning. It just is really what it is. And then you grow up and you start consuming all of these other people's philosophies and ideas, and you know, you get their own sense of self, and you start learning that some people are seen as more worthy than others, and you internalize a whole bunch of muck, and you start losing faith in yourself and what you think is cool, what you think is worth your time. And then hopefully as you get older, you start going back to yourself, hopefully. There was a point that I was going to make with all of that. Right? You know, we get a sense of whenever we're learning all of these things that you know, go against our nature, that go against who we are, but we're told this is how it's supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do. You know, we get this sort of mindset of like, I did everything right, and yet everything still seems to be so blah. Everything still seems to be so just not here. Why isn't anything that I want here? Or it is here and it doesn't feel good. I did everything right. I checked off all the boxes. I followed all the rules. I did all the steps. I was very thorough, and yet it doesn't feel rewarding. It doesn't feel rewarding because you have neglected what you think, how you feel, what your own ideas are. You've neglected to include yourself in the conversation of your own life because you were so busy listening to what they had to say, what she had to say, what he had to say. You were so consumed by the desire to please and the desire to conform and the desire to be seen as acceptable, because on a species level, humans are very social. If we don't have each other, we don't survive. So when you have too much of an emphasis on, right, what is that, the external locus versus the internal locus, that whole thing, when you have too much focus on the external, the internal becomes nothing. It feels weak, it feels blah, it feels blocked, it feels overworked, it feels overwhelmed. So of course you're going to feel like nothing exactly fits, even though it adds up on paper. It doesn't add up in the heart. Because again, you neglected to confer with yourself. Confer, is that the right word? You neglected to include yourself in the conversation of your own life. So, this seems to be a point of learning. Now, the thing about judgment is that it is so close to the end of the Fool's journey throughout the major arcana. For those of you who may not know, in tarot, the deck is split up into two sections. We have the major arcana and the minor arcana. The minor arcana is made up of the four suits, the wands, the cups, the swords, the pentacles, and depending on the deck, these have different names to them, but more or less they're the same idea, right? The major arcana are the cards that you see, such as Judgment, such as the Moon, right? The Hermit, the Fool. The major arcana represents major energies, major moments on a journey. If you are familiar with the hero's journey, you know, the storytelling plot line, you know, if you remember that from English class, if you remember learning about that, it's sort of the same idea, right? You see the different phases of one's life, of not just a whole life, I mean, yes, a whole life, but journeys throughout the lives. And the thing about the Fool's journey, the major arcana, is that it never ends. Once you end one cycle, a new cycle starts again. That's why we have the Fool at 0. The number 0, it looks like an egg, and the Fool is number 0 because the Fool is getting ready to hatch and be reborn. There's a whole thing about it. But anyway, with Judgment here, Judgment is number 20. The World is the last card. It is number 21. There are 22 because the Fool is counted. The Fool starts at 0 though. So the World being number 21 is technically the 22nd card. Judgment comes before that. So there is this very closeness to this energy, to this cycle. This is a sign when Judgment comes up that energetically all that is needed before you can fully let go of the cycle is to have this lesson be learned. And the thing about Judgment that is so frustrating is that you can stay here for a long time. That is why it is so helpful to have insight with more cards, such as the Queen of Cups here. And the Queen of Cups points to this energy of needing to really turn this energy inward. This is the time where you need to really go into yourself, reconnect with yourself, and really get in touch to your intuitive feelings. And what I mean by intuitive feelings, we can just boil it down to just feelings. What do you feel drawn to? What do you feel called for or towards? You don't have to give me a why, just a what. You can figure out the why along the way. But just pay attention to what interests you, what sparks you up, what lights you up with joy. You don't have to identify the why. You don't have to know why right now. In fact, you really don't need to know why at all. Sometimes the why actually can be as simple as it just makes me happy. And that's good enough. I feel like we put so much pressure to assign such deep meanings to things that mean a lot to us, because you would think that, oh, if it means so much, there must be this grandiose idea or this really big thought, or, all of this time behind, the interest or the desire or what have you. But sometimes it really just is because. So I don't want you to feel bad if you can't find the why, or if you can't go any deeper than just because. Sometimes the most beautiful things in our lives that we are drawn towards come to us because they just do. Why do things fall apart? Because they do. Why do things come together? Because they do. And sometimes it really is that simple, and it is really hard for us to wrap our minds around, because we're just so used to trying to find the deeper meaning, the smaller details. So if you're feeling quite stuck, if you're feeling quite stagnant, I feel like it's because you are feeling the disconnect. You're feeling the depths of the crevasse that lives within you from the disconnection. So, what do you do now? I think you welcome yourself back into the conversation about your own life. I don't care if you are starting again at 43 years old. You could be graduating high school at 17, 18 years old. I don't care if you're 74. Every day that you wake up and you are alive and you are able to do whatever, it's a new time It's a new opportunity for you to do something different. Instead of having the same old breakfast, maybe switch up an ingredient. Do you take a morning walk? What if you switch that to the evening? What does your neighborhood look like in the evening compared to the morning? What does it look like in the morning compared to the evening? Just these little changes. You don't have to do anything major right now. There isn't this sort of, come on, get your life together, let's do it, let's go. This isn't that. This is the time for you to turn inwards and to start with the little things. Wear the outfit that you've been wanting to wear for ages, but you've had nowhere to wear it. You've had no occasion. There's something that I saw, it was a post the other day that was like, wear the outfit anyway because life is the occasion. Your existence is the occasion. It's time for you to start listening to yourself and to start realizing that you need to honor yourself and that you have a say in your own life. This is your time. I don't want to speak too much on that because I do get quite freaked out thinking about just how finite the human life is. And it's right before I go to bed, so this is not a good time. But seriously, I don't want you, I don't want me, I don't want us to find ourselves in our final moments thinking, I wish I took more time to listen to myself. I wish I gave myself a shot. I think you need to start asking yourself genuinely, who cares what they think? If you aren't harming yourself, if you aren't harming others, who cares? I think another good question is to ask yourself, why do you care so much about what other people think, when there's a pretty good chance that if you are this consumed by what everybody else is thinking, that those same people are also thinking those same thoughts. And let that lead you to ask, why are you so concerned about the opinions of others who are only concerned with others' thoughts? Let's look at the bottom of the deck. The Hermit. Oh, what did I say? It's a time to go inwards. It's a time for you to direct your energy into yourself. And it is time to really look into perhaps the subconscious mind and to dig and to find some shadow work prompts online and get to know the aspects of yourself that are uncomfortable, that are undesirable, that you've been hiding. Not because they're bad, but because you've just learned to be ashamed of them. You've learned that they've somehow not been good enough. So you tucked them away. It's time to dig. Let's look at the top of the deck. The Eight of Cups. See how nicely they are stacked. See how neatly they're stacked. You did all that you could, and yet it was never enough. It was never right. So it's time to let go. It's time to let go. It's time to leave it behind. You don't have to leave it right away, but it's time to start turning that shoulder It's time to start turning that neck, if you can, metaphorically. It's time to start turning. That way your back is facing it. And that it is symbolically and at some point literally in your past. You did what you thought was right. You did all that you could. You still got left with this this lack of satisfaction. So now it's time to go and see what it is that you want. Who are you? And what do you want? And if you can't answer either of those questions, that's okay. But it does seem like now is the time to explore and to play and to finally give yourself a chance. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.